So the Spurs just traded for Kelly Olynyk. Really good move by this team, but I think there actually is a bigger picture that this trade paints. Was it a flashy move by any means? No, not at all. This was just a move by the Spurs to add another stretch big who could play behind Wemby and Luke Kornet, as well as just get a quality role player. That's what the Spurs did in this trade. They added more depth, which is something that they really lacked last season, but once again, there is a bigger picture to this trade, and let's get into it. First, let's look at the trade. The Spurs got Kelly Olynyk, and the Wizards, they got Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham, and a 2026 second-round pick that is the least favorable of Dallas, Philadelphia, and Oklahoma City. Let's look at this trade from the Spurs side. They dumped off Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham, two guys who were first-round picks in the 2022 NBA draft and have not prospered into any sort of rotation player. They were at the end of the bench, not getting any minutes, and their development was just not on the pace that the Spurs were looking for, so they dumped them off to get Kelly Olynyk, and then they gave up a second-round pick, least favorable of Dallas, Philadelphia, and Oklahoma City. That pick is going to be probably around 60. It'll be the last pick in the draft. And 60 doesn't even exist in the draft anymore. That's how low this pick is going to be. The draft now goes to 58. It's going to be somewhere around there. Obviously, since it'll be the least favorable of Oklahoma City, it's going to end up in that very low range. So not a valuable pick at all, but hey, Wizards got a second-round pick, and now they're still trying to figure out what they are going to do. For the Spurs, they just add another veteran guy. They add a 34-year-old who shot 40% from three last season. Very quality big men, and the Spurs have been addressing their lack of depth issue that they had last season, and it's been one of the best off seasons in recent memory for the Spurs. They got their 3-and-D wing in Carter Bryant. They drafted Dylan Harper second overall, who's normally the first overall pick in most drafts. It's just the fact that he had to go up against Cooper Flagg, which nobody was going to get drafted over Cooper Flagg. They got their backup center and Luke Kornet for a very cheap 4-year, $41 million contract that is looking greater and greater by the day. That's Wemby's best backup center since coming in the league, and now they add Kelly Olynyk. He can play the 4, he can play the 5, he's 6'11", and can shoot the lights out. The Spurs have been adding all this depth, but what else is there to do? Before we get into that, go ahead, if you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to hit that button. A lot of my viewers are not subscribed, so go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really helps me out. It lets me continue to push more content. And so, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button. Let's look at the bigger picture here for the Spurs. With this trade, the Spurs opened up another roster spot, and they're now up to 3 roster spots. They don't have a lot of money left to spend on the mid-level exception. They still have the biannual exception to spend, but I really don't know if there's a lot big moves the Spurs are going to make. They're probably not going to bring in a lot of more veterans because you're not going to play 15 guys a game. They're probably going to limit this rotation down to 11 or 10. Maybe Carter Bryant doesn't get a lot of rotation minutes. Maybe one of Keldon Johnson or Julian Champagnie loses their minutes. There's going to be some players from last season who played vital roles who are probably going to get their roles reduced this year because of the fact that the Spurs have added more depth. But I just don't think there's any more moves that the Spurs are going to make in terms of bringing in a lot of guards or bigs or any veterans on minimum deals just because of the fact that they're probably not going to be playing. If so, it's going to be like a Patty Mills, someone who is Spurs culture and is just going to be a player coach. Obviously, they're done with Chris Paul. Great 1 year. Thank you for everything, Chris. But he is definitely not coming back, especially now that they have all these guards, and he's definitely interested in probably the Clippers. But the Spurs did have a logjam of guards after drafting Dylan Harper. Their core was Fox, Castle, Harper, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Keldon is listed as a small forward, but he does stand 6'5" and dropped a lot of weight last season, so he does fit more of a shooting guard archetype. Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley. There are a ton of guards on the roster, and so the Spurs just went and dumped some end of rotation guys for Olynyk. Once again, very solid move. Extremely solid move by Brian Wright and the Spurs. I'm not really sure how the Wizards accepted that because no one knows what is going on over there. They have 17 players on the roster right now, so some players are about to get cut. But Dylan Harper has the talent to come into this Spurs locker room and start day one. There is no doubt about it. And he is a player who can immediately make an impact for the Spurs as a quality player. but the fit was questioned because the Spurs had Fox and Castle already on this roster. And with a guy like Harper, you don't draft based off fit, you draft based on talent. You don't want to miss on a guy like Dylan Harper, or unless you end up like the Spurs in 2020 when they passed on Tyrese Halliburton because they already had DeJounte, Derek White, and Lonnie Walker already on the roster. Imagine what Tyrese Halliburton would have done to that team. But the Harper was the best move they can make at second overall. The biggest question is, where do you play him? Is he going to be a sixth man? Is he going to be the shooting guard next to De'Aaron Fox and you're going to slide Castle to the 3? Because he can do that. Dylan Harper is at his best offensively when the ball is in his hands. He is one of the best downhill scorers in the class of 2025, arguably the best. Shifty, very shaky, and he has the handle and quickness to blow by any defenders. Point being, good things are going to happen when Dylan Harper has the ball in his hands, whether he is going to take it downhill for a bucket through traffic or he's just going to kick it out at the last minute and run a pick and roll. Dylan Harper is going to get shaky. He's going to get shifty. He's going to create offense, whether or not it's through scoring or assisting with the ball in his hands. So if he's on the floor, why would you not have him running point guard? Because he's not going to be the starting point guard over De'Aaron Fox. This is a all-NBA caliber guard who can score 60 that the Spurs traded for scraps while in the middle of his prime. We know what De'Aaron Fox is capable of, and we know that when they traded for him, that he had that injury to his pinky, and now that he is healthy, we're finally going to see him and Wemby have the first full season together, because Wemby had the blood clot, and he had it even before they traded for Fox, so both of those guys weren't healthy during their only 5 games together as a duo last season. So now that they are finally together and finally healthy, we're going to see them at their peak performance, which is going to be a dangerous sight for the entire league. But how does Dylan Harper fit next to De'Aaron Fox? Really just as a catch and shoot threat. He shot 36.8% last season at Rutgers on catch and shoot threes. But when you draft a guy like Dylan Harper, you just don't want him to be a floor spacer or a catch and shoot threat. You want him to have the ball in his hands, which is why I think his best fit for the rookie season is going to be as the sixth man for the Spurs. And maybe he just thrives into this Manu Ginobili-esque role. I'm not saying that you will never play him next to Wemby, Fox, or Castle. I'm not saying to never do that. I'm just saying that I think the best fit is for him to immediately start by coming off the bench, and then you get him ready to play as a starter down the road. You integrate him with Fox, Wemby, Castle. You let him get those minutes with the starters, but I think overall, if they let Harper come off the bench and let him get his rhythm against second unit guys, that could be dangerous. You bring Fox and Castle off the starting lineup, then you rotate him in with Harper, that would be nasty. For me, my starting lineup would be Fox, Castle, Barnes, Sohan, and Victor, and then off the bench, it would be Harper, Vassell, Champagnie, Olynyk, and Cornette with a little mix-in of Keldon and Carter Bryant. This is a 12-man rotation that I really think can be a playoff team. But I just don't think that the Spurs are going to bring Harper off the bench. I think it is going to be Fox, Castle, and Harper to be in the starting lineup with probably Harrison Barnes next to Wemby. It isn't going to be a bad thing. I just think it would be best for everybody if Harper started as a sixth man. But in my case, if they're going to run all 3 of them together in the starting lineup, then all you need to do is you just need to pull Harper early and then move Fox back to the 2, bring in Devin Vassell. And so you have Fox and Castle running it after a Harper substitution, and then when Fox is tired, you put Harper in. Or if Castle is tired, you put Harper in, and then vice versa. Whenever the next guy is tired, you just put him back in. You replace one of them, and all 3 of these guys are just a triangle rotating in. There should never not be one of Fox, Castle, or Harper on the floor at the same time. I've made this point plenty of times throughout the last few weeks, and I'm going to stand by that once again. They should never not have Fox, Castle, or Harper on the floor at all times. But at this point, this is a waiting game for the Spurs, because now that they have an open roster spot, what are they going to do? Do they go get a backup point guard? Because if they do, then that signals to me that the Spurs are going to run Fox, Castle, and Harper together. But if they don't, then maybe they're going to let Harper be their backup point guard to start next season. So that is the waiting game that comes from this Kelly Olynyk trade. I know that Blake Wesley and Malachi Branham were not going to be the long-term backup point guard for this team, but you traded both of them away. So now you wonder what that backup point guard slot is going to look like. If they put a Harper in there, then that's going to be phenomenal. But now we just wait and see what happens with the Spurs. If they go get a backup point guard, that signals to me that they are going to run Fox, Castle, and Harper in the starting unit. But if they don't, then maybe we see Dylan Harper come off the bench to start his rookie season. That is the bigger picture here. I don't think that the Spurs are done making moves, but we'll just have to wait and see. And if they do make any more moves, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on that post notification bell so you never miss when the Spurs make a move here, and I will always be covering it on my channel. So, until next time, this is Ty Talk Sports signing off, and I will see you guys next time.